Hi, my name is Joeseph, and I'm the author of The Last Surviving Dinosaur, the TyrantoCrankaTsuris. I am also the author of a book that's going to be released soon, in a few months, a grown-up guide to effective crankiness, the Crankatsuris Method. And in these quarantine, stay-in-place times we have, it's very, very important to understand and know how to use your crankiness effectively, especially we're all stuck together. Now, how I like to explain this situation is to compare it with when the family goes out on vacation. They load the car or the van with all the goodies and they're going to Disney World and the kids are in the back, and of course after the long ride they're all asking, kids are asking, are we there yet? When are we going to get there? How much longer? I'm hungry. I have to go to the bathroom. All that stuff. And at least in that situation, the parents, the grown-ups, kind of know when they're going to get to the Magic Kingdom. Now, with this quarantine stuff, there is no Magic Kingdom that we're going to. We're just stuck. And nobody knows the answer to the question that everyone's asking. Even the parents are asking, are we there yet? How much longer? No one knows. We're stuck. So, it is important to know that we're going to get very, very cranky, but we have to be cranky in an effective way. Well, how do we do that? I always talk about, when I talk about Crankatsuris, I call it Crankatsuris because I wanted to give our crankiness a physical feel, like it's right inside here. It's not in here, it's in here. So when it's a physical thing, you have a better sense of how to control it. You have your hands around it. You could make decisions about it. It's something you could feel and see and touch, and it's more real. It turns out, first of all, nowadays we have enough invisible enemies, and it turns out that invisible enemies could be a lot scarier than those enemies we could see. So that's why we want to make the crankiness into a Crankatsuris, something we actually see and feel. Picture a tea kettle about to boil. Tea kettle just sits there, looks like a normal tea kettle, but if we keep it on too long, it explodes. So, the best example, I'm not supposed to touch my face. The best example is a particular relationship where you have partner A and partner B. Partner A has this little habit or saying or thing that partner A does. It doesn't really bother partner B. Actually, partner B finds it cute sometimes. Doesn't bother partner B at all. So the first 9 times, fine, no problem. First 900 times, fine, no problem. Cute. Then, by the 901st time, partner B all of a sudden explodes. I am sick and tired of blah, 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 and then he just lets out some Crankatsuris against partner A. It's really, really terrible. It's kind of hurtful. Now, let's examine why it's so hurtful. First of all, it was a surprise attack. It was an attack against this other person. It was unexpected. And because partner A did this about 900 times without any effect or any warning, partner A is now in shock. And partner A cannot really trust partner B or feel safe around partner B. I've done this thing 900 times and bother this person. What happens if I do something else that didn't bother this person? It's not very good. So we have the Crankatsuris, and we make the Crankatsuris physical, and we practice our Crankatsuris, and the whole family gets to embrace the Crankatsuris. It's something physical. When it's physical, you're not thinking about, oh, do I want to let out this projectile Crankatsuris vomit on the new couch I have with a loved one happening to sit on it? No, you wouldn't think about that. You wouldn't. And the thing about the Crankatsuris, it no longer becomes about the other person. It's not about like what the other person did or did not do. It's only because I happen to have a Crankatsuris. I had the Crankatsuris, it's about me. I was feeling depleted, I was tired, I have this thing in me, and it's not about you. So if it's not about you, and you also happen to have some Crankatsuris sometimes, and you let out your own Crankatsuris, it's not about me. It's about you. It's about all of us, that we just happen to be a little bit cranky. So I don't feel hurt. I feel less safe. And I could be compassionate to the other person who feels a little bit cranky. And isn't that something special when we get to feel compassionate, make something hard, something where we feel safer and more loving and more trusting? That's something pretty good. So we have to practice in these cranky times our Crankatsuris. Do we have a Crankatsuris schedule? Do we practice in family settings our Crankatsuris? We get to perform our Crankatsuris. Do the kids get to play the TyrantoCrankaTsuris monster while the parents run away as scaredy cats? Do we have a Crankatsuris checklist? Do we have a private, quiet space for the person who might need space in some of their Crankatsuris? Not everything we have to lash out or yell and scream. Some we can just say, yeah, I need a little quiet space. So, as I say in my book, The Last Surviving Dinosaur, the TyrantoCrankatsuris, we learn to use our TyrantoCrankatsuris and our TyrantoCrankaTsuris not too often, just the right amount to make the world a little bit less crankier and a lot more happy. But if we do, let's make sure we have some fun with it.